On the screen, a knight and dragon pose as triumphant words flash, "Mission clear." A young man, Kakeru, boasts to his friend that he cleared the mission with ease. His friend seems to be complaining about the difficulties of playing the Tamara class. Kakeru dismisses the complaints, insisting the class's merits far outweigh any downsides. He gushes about the thrill of riding a dragon, a feeling he could experience 1,000,000 times. Noticing the late hour, he decides he has time for just one more quest before bed. He eagerly asks his friend for their next destination, suggesting a volcano or Ganakuturu. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light engulfs him, his expression turning to pure shock. His world plunges into darkness as he confusedly asks what is happening. Standing in an infinite void, his first thought is a simple power outage. A glowing robed figure materializes, startling him into calling out his own name. The apparition reveals itself as a serene old man with a long white beard. The old man delivers the grave news that the young man has unfortunately died. Teruhisa, the young man, stares blankly, unable to process the terrible words. He insists it must be a dream from exhaustion, but the old man calmly denies it. The old man gently asks the confused Teruhisa if he knows who he is. Teruhisa admits his mind is foggy, and he cannot remember anything clearly at all. The old man explains the accident clouded his memories and offers to help awaken them. He gently places his fingers on Teruhisa's forehead to begin restoring his memories. Teruhisa tries to brush him off, still insisting this is just a dream he'll wake from. He wonders what the old man means by these memories being important for his future life. The old man pulls his hand away, stating that they must now part for a while. As his mind clears, Teruhisa's eyes widen in horror, realizing the terrible truth. A flashback begins as the old man's voice asks why he was out in a car. His parents' disapproving voices question why he took the car just for a birthday gift. They berate him for not doing the laundry and demand that he give them a response. The memory shows him silently taking their lecture, unable to speak up for himself. His parents lament that he got into a good university only to live in such a mess. In another memory, a friendly, curly-haired classmate asks if he is a first-year student. The cheerful student invites the burdened-looking Teruhisa to a welcome party with them. Teruhisa apologizes and declines the kind offer, explaining he has to go to work. He walks alone, his mind crushed by the weight of rent, tuition, and his job. His kind friend reappears, clapping him on the shoulder, telling him not to look so grim. The friend then cheerfully presents him with a new Enjoy console and a popular game. Teruhisa is stunned to see the hit game, Infinite World, in his friend's hands. His friend explains it's a gift for him, as he already owns his own copy. Teruhisa is flabbergasted that his friend would gift him both the console and the game. He thinks that this kind person, who just wants a friend to play with, is a god. The memory shifts to him eagerly getting ready to play, his avatar complete. He is completely captivated, marveling that something so fun and realistic could exist. The triumphant victory cinematic from the game plays out once more. His final happy words echo as he excitedly plans his next in-game destination. The horrifying reality is revealed. A huge truck has smashed directly into his room. A close-up shows his face, his joyful expression frozen at the moment of impact. Back in the void, Teruhisa gasps as the full, awful memory returns to him. The old man confirms he has remembered. He died in a truck accident, like his parents. Tears stream down his face as he finally accepts the reality of his own death. He bitterly laments his unfulfilling life, wishing he'd gone to work instead of playing. The old man suggests that without the game as support, the outcome may have been worse. Teruhisa looks up at the ethereal figure and asks him who he truly is. Surrounded by divine light, the old man reveals he is God, a guide for souls. God explains this is the afterlife for Japanese souls, a place he rarely visits personally. Teruhisa can only mutter the word God as he processes the incredible revelation. He assumes his options are heaven or hell, hoping for a peaceful rest in heaven. God states that his path is not limited to just heaven or hell. He materializes the infinite world game case, presenting a third mysterious option. God proposes reincarnation into another world, leaving Teruhisa utterly stunned. The scene changes and he is now in his avatar's armor, surveying a barren wasteland. He looks over his shoulder, muttering in awe that he has truly come here. He examines his new body, admiring the cool design of his Tenitsu-style armor. Thrilled that he was reborn as his cool avatar, he wonders where his items are. He opens the pouch at his belt and finds it fully stocked with his potions. He then wonders if the game's ultimate storage, the item box, also exists here. Making a familiar gesture, he is shocked as a holographic screen appears before him. It is the item box interface displaying all the treasures he had collected. He discovers he can scroll through the menu with a simple flick of his finger. Summoning his status screen, he is shocked to see a stat for magical power. He realizes if he has magic, then the skills from the game must also work. He recalls the powerful techniques from the game, preparing to test one out. Extending his gauntleted hand, he shouts the incantation for the Thunderbolt spell. A brilliant bolt of lightning erupts from his hand, blasting the empty landscape. He briefly wonders if he needs to chant or if there's just a button to press. He scrolls through his status menu, searching for the incantation lists. He finds the information he's looking for within the game's interface. He discovers his new job is Tamir, allowing him to command monsters in this world. He continues to scroll through the dense, runic text of his status screen. He finds it, the command to call forth the legendary blaze dragon Inaria. His eyes, visible through his helmet, widen with excitement and anticipation. With a single decisive motion, he presses the holographic call prompt. He stands silently in the desolate field, waiting for the summoning to begin. He sighs, realizing that even in this world, things aren't easy. A chant is required. A massive red-scaled dragon erupts from a whirlwind of dust, landing before him. The great beast lowers its head, its intelligent reptilian eye fixed upon him. He stands before his new partner, whispering her name in reverence, Inaria. Reaching out, he touches her snout, marveling that she is a real living dragon. He greets his new partner, saying this moment feels like a dream come true. The dragon suddenly rears back, flailing in panic as she shrieks that he spoke. Her eye is wide with shock, a bead of sweat dripping down her scaled face. Kakeru yells back that she spoke too, and she laughs at his surprise. With a toothy grin, Inaria teases that he is the one who is able to speak. She asks if he really thought his voice wasn't reaching her this whole time. Her tone turns serious as she scolds him for abandoning her for an entire week. She furiously explains she's been searching for him since he vanished from the volcano. Kakeru is stunned, asking if this means she was in this world from the start. She nuzzles him affectionately but freezes, sensing an approaching presence. Kakeru is confused, feeling the same foul, ominous sensation in the air. Inaria's sharp eyes narrow as she confirms the threat is heading toward them. He clenches his fist, nervous about a fight when he barely understands his own magic. After learning his name is Kakeru, Inaria asks him what he is going to do. The scene cuts to a forest, where two mysterious figures ask if the one they seek is there. In the forest, a knight feels a sense of urgency about their mission. A cloaked figure worries, thinking they must be brought back to them soon. In a memory, Kakeru and Inaria forge their pact, binding their fates together. He recalls playing the game, dreaming of truly riding the great blaze dragon Inaria. He imagined how incredibly happy such an amazing experience would surely make him feel. In the present, Inaria demands to know what Kakeru plans to do now. As the enemy nears, she impatiently urges him to make a decision quickly. Kakeru panics, realizing he doesn't even know how to use magic yet. Inaria declares their only option is to flee from this place immediately. She lowers her body, telling Kakeru to get on so they can fly. With a powerful leap, Inaria launches into the air, leaving him behind. She circles back around, swooping down low to catch him on her back. He is surprised by his own calmness during this incredible first flight experience. He instinctively knows how to ride, a skill he attributes to God's blessing. Kakeru looks ahead with determination, telling his companion to hold on tight. A searing beam of energy suddenly slices through the air, right past them. He recognizes the attack, his mind reeling at the impossible implication of it. The terrifying Imperial Dragon, Hardened Verlegem, appears before them in the sky. Kakeru shouts orders to keep their distance, knowing they can't lose on speed. Inaria explains it's an artificial dragon known for its unorthodox attack patterns. She notes his armor looks like his initial gear from the game's beginning. Shouting a warning, she expertly weaves through a barrage of incoming projectiles. She tells him to use his magic, but he yells he's forgotten the chant. Inaria can't believe he's forgotten the incantation he has used so many times. She urges him to calm down and chant the spell Thunderbolt with her. He feels a surge of power, becoming one with the war god's divine speed. He grits his teeth, focusing his will to unleash the powerful counterspell. Together they cry out the incantation, unleashing a massive thunderbolt counter. The crackling lightning surges forward, intercepting the volley of dark energy blasts. Their combined attack results in a cataclysmic explosion that fills the entire sky. He breathes a sigh of relief, exclaiming that it worked thanks to Thunderbolt. He realizes his sword is useless in the air, but magic is perfect. He tells Inaria to prepare for an intercept, and she roars in agreement. With a fierce look in her eye, she prepares to unleash her own attack. A massive torrent of fire erupts from her maw, engulfing the dark dragon. Inaria asks if they should pursue, but Kakeru knows it's not over. The dark dragon plummets from the sky, completely wreathed in blazing flames. He warns that attacking now would just trigger its dangerous second transformation. Just as he predicted, the dragon rises again, its form now more monstrous. Inaria is annoyed by its persistence as the transformed dragon lunges towards them. Kakeru grips the hilt of his greatsword, preparing for a close-quarters fight. He braces himself as the monstrous dragon brings its massive claw down upon him. He thinks to himself that it's all right, preparing to unleash another powerful attack. He steels himself for one more powerful shot as the enemy closes in. But before he can act, a blur of motion intercepts the attack. Inaria throws herself in the way, blocking the massive claw with her body. Her eyes blaze with fury as she roars at the enemy dragon. A brilliant barrier of energy erupts from her, calling it a fallen dragon. Kakeru is shocked, realizing she has a powerful second-form barrier ability. The barrier slams into Verlegia with immense force, sending it reeling backward. Kakeru can only watch in awe, whispering how amazing her power is. He is utterly stunned by the incredible display of her unexpected new power. The shockwave from the impact rocks Inaria, but she holds her ground. She scoffs at the falling dragon, calling its display utterly pathetic. As searing light begins to gather in her maw for another attack. She unleashes a massive beam, declaring this is a blaze dragon's power. She explains her barrier was too strong for its incomplete second form. She suggests they descend into the forest to hide, and he agrees. In the forest, she says she has many questions she needs to ask. She demands to know where he was, warning him not to use excuses. He calmly agrees to tell her the entire story of what happened to him. In a flashback, Teruhisa asks God what he means by another world. God holds up the game case, explaining it's the world he played. Teruhisa is shocked when God reveals that he was the game's creator. He recalls a rumor about an old man creating the game for fun. God holds up a tablet, explaining he didn't create the world itself. God tells him to look closely at the image displayed on the screen. He instantly recognizes the starting town from the game, Wilstoro, on the tablet. He marvels at how incredibly realistic the town and its people appear. Even the expressions of the non-player characters seem rich with genuine life. God explains this is one of countless worlds existing in the multiverse. He became its patron god and created the game to experience it. He thinks that while inexperienced, he's a better choice than no one. He suddenly realizes with a jolt exactly where this conversation is heading. God formally presents this new world as the one he wishes to introduce. Teruhisa asks why him, and God explains it's because he loves IW. He passionately agrees, saying the time he spent playing was his happiest. God says he feels the same love and wants to send him there. He shows him a world of real magic and genuine, breathtaking adventure awaits. The incredible offer leaves Teruhisa blushing, his mind racing with possibilities. God presents the two choices, a peaceful afterlife or a new adventure. In heaven, he could live a dreamlike life and be with his parents. In the other world, he could be a hero, a demon lord, anything. The deity calmly asks him which of the two paths he will choose. For Teruhisa, he thinks to himself that the choice is already decided. He points decisively, declaring that of course he chooses the other world. God asks if he is sure, and he replies he cannot see them yet. He wants to meet them again only after he has grown into a man. God is pleased and promises to send him off with his full support. Back in the present, Kakeru thanks God for creating the game that saved him. He recalls God humbly saying he was glad his hobby was useful. God's serene expression shows his satisfaction that his creation brought such joy. Kakeru remembers God admitting it was a way to pass his free time. He remembers being slightly taken aback by the deity's very casual confession. He expresses his deep gratitude to God for making a world that saved him. He remembers God's humble words, calling the game a simple hobby of his. He pictures God's knowing smile as he spoke of his little project. Kakeru recalls God saying his divine duties were handled by his subordinates. Kakeru's sweat drops, recalling God's reason for making the game was boredom. Inaria listens intently, though she finds the entire story to be completely unbelievable. Inaria recalls that when Kakeru called her, she flew into a strange, shining cloud. Kakeru apologizes, realizing he accidentally dragged her from their world into this one. Inaria proudly declares that their shared fate is a vow a blaze dragon never breaks. Kakeru quietly accepts her fierce loyalty, understanding their bond is now real. He places a gauntlet on her snout, formally renewing their partnership in this new world. Inaria asks her tamer what their next move will be now that they're here. Kakeru suggests he scout a nearby town while she stays hidden in the forest. Inaria is instantly furious, demanding to know if he intends to leave her alone. She stomps the ground, shouting that she wants to gather information too. Her rage turns to a wail as she reminds him they always went on quests together. She continues her tantrum, insisting she will never be left behind again. Overwhelmed, Kakeru promises he will properly consult with her from now on. He sighs to himself, admitting he doesn't understand the heart of a maiden. Her anger vanishes as her sharp senses suddenly detect an approaching presence. She quietly alerts Kakeru that she can sense someone is getting closer. From the shadows, a cloaked figure begins chanting an incantation to the wind god. They make a sharp gesture with their hand, completing the spell. A blade of pure wind, a storm cutter, slices through the clearing toward them. Inuria casually bats the attack aside, questioning the strange human's assault. The cloaked figure is stunned, wondering if seeing a real dragon knight is a dream. Inuria is confused by the unprovoked attack from a human. The figure is in total disbelief, questioning if what they see is reality. Kakeru notes the voice sounds like a girl's, and that he senses no true malice. Suddenly, the forest fills with the thunder of hooves as armored soldiers appear. A knight is shocked to see the crest of the Woolrorja kingdom on Kakeru's armor. The commander bellows an order, demanding they bring back the princess. An archer takes aim, annoyed by this unexpected complication. He screams for the monster to get away from the princess as he looses an arrow. Inaria snarls, tired of the interruptions, asking if they wish to be incinerated. The knights are shocked the dragon speaks, but stand firm to protect the princess. Inaria asks Kakeru for permission to simply blow them all away. Kakeru weighs his options. Should they flee or fight to get answers? The girl's hood falls back, revealing a young woman with wide, terrified eyes. She cries out a single, desperate plea for someone to save her. Her desperate gaze is fixed entirely on the armored knight before her. Kakeru makes his decision in an instant, telling Inaria to duck her head. He gathers crackling energy, preparing to unleash the Thunder Emperor's war lance. A massive, non-lethal thunderbolt sweeps across the ground, incapacitating the knights. In the stunned silence, Kakeru extends his hand to the girl, urging her to hurry. The young woman stares at his offered hand, her eyes wide with surprise. She accepts his help, her small hand taking his armored one. Inaria grumbles about carrying another human, but agrees it's time to fly. Safely behind him, the girl thinks to herself how reckless her dragon knight is. With a powerful gust from her wings, Inaria launches them into the sky. The princess clings tightly to Kakeru as they make their swift escape. The knight on the ground curses, realizing he has made a grave miscalculation. Inaria soars away, chiding the knight for his foolish underestimation of them. The knight sees more soldiers arriving, drawn by the commotion. Kakeru suspects the dark dragon Verlija's presence may have aided their escape. Inaria notes that such chaotic moments were also a tactic in their game. As they fly, she turns to Kakeru and asks him a direct question. She clarifies she's not angry, just curious why he chose to save the girl. Kakeru recalls the young woman's desperate cry for help. He simply replies that there was no particular reason for his actions. He felt he couldn't abandon her and acted without thinking of the consequences. In his mind, he vows that he will not become detached like his parents were. He has a second chance at life, and he will live true to his own heart. Inaria asks if this is something to laugh about. She apologizes, musing that her partner is a surprisingly humane person. Kakeru remarks that a compassionate dragon knight is certainly a rare thing. He catches the princess as she finally faints from the day's exhaustion. They fly onward, searching for a safe place to make camp for the night. They settle on a remote cliffside under a brilliant, star-filled sky. Kakeru checks his status, groaning about his official rank being none. Inaria notes how much effort he put in to become the highest rank in the game. She laments that his immense power makes a quiet debut impossible now. Inaria speculates that the girl they saved is likely royalty. She advises against traveling through lands controlled by the Woolrorja kingdom. Instead, she suggests they head east, toward the city of Arklus. It's a neutral guild city where they can take quests suited to their unique status. Kakeru agrees it's a good plan for Inaria. The princess stirs, her senses picking up the distinct scent of a dragon. She shrinks away from Inaria, her body trembling with fear. Inaria huffs, insulted that the girl thinks she would be eaten. Kakeru notes how unconvincing her attempt at feigning sleep is. Inaria snaps that if the girl doesn't stop, she might just take a bite. The princess begs for forgiveness, pleading with the dragon not to eat her. She gathers her courage and formally introduces herself as Ranamel Woolrorja. Confirming her royal lineage, she yelps in embarrassment over her earlier panic. Ranamel asks if she might be allowed to tell them her story. She explains she lived a peaceful life with her mother in a remote village. Then one day, her mother suddenly died. A shadow of sorrow crosses her face as she recalls the painful memory. A plague had swept the village, and with no medicine, her mother passed quickly. Sometime after, while she was still grieving, royal soldiers arrived. They had come to the village specifically for her and her mother. A soldier revealed she was the king's child and must return to the capital. They explained she was the king's illegitimate daughter, needed now that the queen was ill. She questioned why her father hadn't protected her mother after exiling her. She refused to accept the orders of the father who had abandoned them. She explains that she secretly fled her village just the other day. Ranamel looks to them with pleading eyes, asking to join their journey. She insists she is strong and that an adventurous life holds no fear for her. As proof of her worth, she declares she can use healing magic to treat wounds. Inaria, skeptical, tells her to prove it. The dragon crosses her massive arms, demanding to see this healing magic. Ranamel agrees and prepares herself by the crackling campfire. Kakaru watches as she kneels to pray, noting the absence of a spoken chant. A brilliant light and a complex magic circle erupt from her silent prayer. Kakaru realizes with a shock that this isn't magic, but a high-level healing skill. Kakaru recalled the shrine maidens of IW who recovered power through prayer. He knew only a few existed. Ranamel clasped her hands, praying fervently. Inaria was impressed by her skill. Ranamel offered a humble thank you. Ranamel explained her prayer reached the shining goddess, making Kakaru wonder about her royal blood. Inaria noted Ranamel's power was real, but their success still depended on Kakaru. The young princess looked up at her armored savior, her eyes full of hope. Kakaru's helmet hid his expression as he considered their complicated situation. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Ranamel thanked him profusely for not abandoning her. She begged him not to be irresponsible and leave her behind now. Ranamel asked if he was a dragon knight. Inaria bluntly replied that he was a tamer. The princess was completely lost, asking what a tamer could possibly be. She thought he was a legendary dragon rider, like the dragon maidens of myth. Kakaru realized his flashy armor had created a massive misunderstanding about his status. Deciding it was too conspicuous, he used his interface to unequip his armor. In a flash of light, the imposing black plate mail began to vanish. Ranamel was shocked to see a young man, admitting she thought he was older. Kakaru explained it was just his avatar's appearance, though he was more energetic now. A loud growl erupted from Ranamel's stomach. She hadn't eaten all day. Kakaru smiled, opening his item box and noting he had plenty of food. Neatly wrapped parcels and potions materialized from the holographic screen. Ranamel asked if this was a dragon knight's secret art. Inaria said it was good preserved food. Inaria complained there wasn't enough for her. Kakaru told her to be patient. Ranamel asked if dragons eat much. Kakaru replied that Inaria was different. Inaria reminded Kakaru of his promise to find a way for her into town. She declared that his idea of becoming smaller was only half the correct answer. With a flourish, she announced it was time for the real solution as a magic circle appeared. Kakaru and Ranamel watched, wondering what she was about to do. A massive cloud of white smoke suddenly erupted, engulfing the great dragon. Kakaru shielded his eyes, peering intently into the billowing smoke. Ranamel cried out in alarm, asking what had happened to Inaria. A hand emerged, flashing a peace sign, saying she was now Kakaru's size. Ranamel gasped, her hands flying to her mouth in utter disbelief. A naked human Inaria emerged, proudly declaring herself the Blaze Dragon. Kakaru and Ranamel were flustered while Inaria stood confidently, hands on her hips. Kakaru thought that with this magic, she could definitely enter a town now. Ranamel asked why she was naked, noting this form wouldn't consume as much food. Inaria said she couldn't just create clothes, asking Kakaru to use his secret arts. Now clothed in Japanese-style robes, Inaria declared them warm and comfortable. Kakaru apologized, but Inaria asked why, since she liked the new clothes. She then declared that, more importantly, it was finally time to eat. Both she and Ranamel were excited to try food from another world. Kakaru took a bite of a luca fruit, enjoying its sweet, delicious flavor. He examined a piece of dried gull meat, which looked like beef jerky. He took a satisfying bite, the jerky tough and savory. Savoring the taste, he realized he instinctively knew the best way to eat it. He toasted the jerky on a dagger, the aroma amazing his companions. Both women exclaimed in unison that the toasted jerky was delicious. They eagerly asked to borrow daggers to toast their own pieces. They held their jerky-skewered blades over the crackling campfire. Ranamel took a large, happy bite of the warm, smoky meat. Both she and Inaria chewed with expressions of pure, unadulterated bliss. They declared together that the simple meal was unbelievably delicious. Kakaru reflected that it had been a long time since he'd shared a meal. The girls urged him to eat before they finished everything themselves. He smiled warmly, agreeing to join them in their simple feast. The three companions enjoyed their food and drink under the starry night sky. The next day, Ainaria flew them over the wilderness, a dragon knight's view. Ainaria noted his new armor and told him not to pass out from the height. Kakeru confirmed it was his silver wing set, which Ranamel found beautiful. Ranamel explained that most adventurers wore simpler leather or steel armor. Kakeru asked if his previous, ornate black armor was too strange. He admitted it looked like a demon lord's armor, shocking Ranamel. He knew his combat power was still untested, having only used a little magic. He resolved to test the full extent of his transferred game skills in Arklus. They approached the towering walls of the fortress city of Arklus. The city's high walls were built to protect citizens from forest monsters. Its lord had gathered skilled warriors, forming the basis of the city's strength. Walking the streets, Ainaria remarked on the city's vibrant, lively atmosphere. Both she and Ranamel were amazed, as it was their first time in a big city. Kakeru noticed the people had strong, determined eyes, unlike those in Japan. He felt this was a part of the world that God had loved so dearly. Ainaria called his name, snapping him out of his contemplative thoughts. She playfully told him to stop spacing out and hurry to the guild. The trio looked up in awe at the impressive medieval-style buildings. They passed by various shops, including a blacksmith hard at work. Ranamel pointed out cat-eared beast people, amazed it was just like the game. Kakeru was moved, realizing he was finally walking these streets for real. He smiled, seeing their destination just ahead down the main road. They finally arrived before a large fenced-off building, the Arklus Guild. All three looked up at the massive guild hall, exclaiming at its size. Kakeru felt a thrill of excitement, knowing this was their new beginning. He declared his new goal, to become a top-rank adventurer in this world. He explained that he now had the freedom to live as he truly wanted. He was determined to master what he loved and truly live his life again. Ranamel, moved by his passion, eagerly offered her support. Ainaria threw an arm around him, announcing the start of their legend. Their loud declaration drew the curious stares of other adventurers nearby. Ainaria reminded him their first step was to register with the guild. She advised him to be on guard inside, but also to relax. Kakeru took a deep breath before stepping through the guild's archway. He was immediately struck by the sheer energy of the bustling guild hall. He noticed the adjoining tavern, smelling the delicious food, just like in the game. Ainaria wanted to head straight for the tavern, but Ranamel suggested they wait. Kakeru agreed to the plan, smiling as his companions headed for a table. A friendly receptionist with twin braids welcomed him to the Arklus Guild. He stated he was there to register, and she handed him the forms. He filled out the document, surprised he could write the unfamiliar script. Next, she presented the discernment crystal, which would detect any lies. He placed his gauntleted hand on the crystal, ready for her questions. The receptionist asked for his name. He answered truthfully, Kakeru. The guild receptionist smiles warmly, confirming there is no problem with his registration. She hands Kakeru his new identification tag, warning him that replacements have a fee. Leaning closer, she notes his impressive armor and asks if he belonged to another guild. Kakeru thinks to himself that explaining he was from a game would make no sense. He simply replies that it was something along those lines, his new tag reading, Kakeru. Suddenly, Ainaria grabs his arm, her face etched with worry as she asks for help. A brutish man shoves a younger boy, who cries out about the injustice of it. The brute sneers that the boy lost a bet and couldn't pay what he owed. A blonde woman intervenes, accusing the man of cheating at dice on her goddess's name. Enraged, the brute raises his fist to strike, but Ranamel bravely steps between them. His massive hand clenches, ready to bring it down on the defiant young women. But Kakeru's hand shoots out, catching the punch as he questions the brute's actions. The blonde woman quickly tells Ranamel to get back with the other boy for safety. The brute growls menacingly, calling Kakeru a young punk for interfering. He warns Kakeru not to stick his neck into business that doesn't concern him. The blonde woman explains the situation, how the boy was tricked into a rigged game. The brute scoffs, insisting that a loss is a loss, and the boy should admit it. The young man Gask tells the ungrateful brute to be quiet and listen to reason. The brute looms over Kakeru, asking if he's confident enough to make a wager. He then flashes a silver tag, boasting that he is the high-rank adventurer, Bash. Getting in Kakeru's face, he aggressively demands to see his adventurer's tag. Bash recognizes Kakeru's sword from a game, but dismisses it as a weak item. Other adventurers at a nearby table mock the group's seemingly low-rank equipment. Bash grows impatient, telling Kakeru to stop staring and show him the tag. He laughs, calling Kakeru a fake rich kid just playing at being an adventurer. With a cruel grin, Bash declares he'll teach the naive boy an adventurer's etiquette. His hand moves towards the hilt of his weapon, signaling his hostile intent. He adds that the little girl, Ranamel, also needs to be taught a lesson. Kakeru recalls ignoring such pointless conflicts in his past, but no longer. His eyes narrow with cold fury. He will show no mercy to those who harm his friends. The two men face off in the center of the tavern floor, the duel about to begin. Kakeru notes that while the game had no PvP, this man has an intimidating build. But compared to the dragon Veria, this brute's clumsy movements mean nothing. Bash swings his axe, yelling that his sloppy attack will be more than enough. Kakeru's eyes are sharp and focused as he prepares to effortlessly dodge the blow. The crowd gasps in shock as the newcomer easily avoids Bash's powerful strike. Patrons shout bets while Anaria nervously tells Kakeru to be careful. Bash smirks, believing that in this world, raw power is the only thing that matters. Kakeru's gaze hardens as he prepares his response. The counterattack begins now. He deflects the massive poleaxe with a powerful upward swing of his own sword. Bash is shocked that his attack was repelled, bracing for Kakeru's next move. He grunts with immense effort, struggling to hold his ground against Kakeru's strength. Kakeru knows his own sword. Mediocus is far superior in every way. With a swift, precise motion, he shatters the thick wooden shaft of the poleaxe. The onlookers are stunned as Bash is left completely disarmed and vulnerable. Kakeru coolly remarks that the brute's prized weapon has been broken in two. Bash bellows in pure rage, screaming about how much money that weapon cost him. He vows that he will never forgive Kakeru for this public humiliation. The enraged brute abandons his broken weapon and charges forward with his fists. Kakeru braces himself, anticipating the reckless, telegraphed punch. With blinding speed, Kakeru twists and delivers a powerful kick to Bash's side. The devastating impact sends Bash flying backward into a solid brick wall. The guild hall is a scene of utter chaos, with Bash lying motionless in the rubble. Kakeru looks at his own hand, surprised by the incredible strength of his new body. He watches as others check on Bash, relieved to see the man is still alive. Anaria approaches with a smug grin, confident no one will underestimate them now. Ranamel apologizes profusely to Kakeru for getting him dragged into the mess. The young boy Gask peeks out, asking if it's really wrong to help someone. Gask beams with gratitude, explaining he's new here and must repay their kindness. He smiles brightly, absolutely determined to show his sincere appreciation. He explains that his mother always taught him to return a favor when helped. He proudly announces that his mother runs a magic tool shop just nearby. He eagerly invites them to come, promising he can get them some potions. Kakeru muses that this world's forward nature is something he's coming to like. Anaria looks at the wreckage, wondering who will pay for the damages. The receptionist smiles, assuring them that Bash will be covering all the costs. Gask insists they come to his shop, but Anaria's thoughts are on lunch. She points to a menu, loudly demanding grilled gull meat with cheese on top. The menu advertisement shows a mouth-watering roast smothered in melted cheese. Ranamel and Kakeru sweat drop at Inaria's very specific and enthusiastic request. The drawing on the menu depicts a large, juicy portion of meat and vegetables. As they walk, Ranamel asks if there isn't a wider, less gloomy street to take. Kakeru looks around the narrow alley, a strange sense of familiarity washing over him. Gask leads them onward, assuring them they are almost at their destination. Kakeru realizes this is the path to a popular, high-end shop from the game. Gask proudly welcomes them to the elegant facade of the Medina Magic Tool Shop. The party stands before the shop's large wooden doors, ready to enter. Kakeru smiles to himself, certain that this is a very fortunate encounter indeed. Gask throws the doors open with a bang, loudly announcing his return. They step inside the shop as Gask runs ahead, calling for his mother. A stern, elegantly dressed woman appears, asking if he's brought customers already. She chides him with a weary look, asking if he isn't starting his sales pitches early. Gask rushes to embrace her, telling his mother that she has it all wrong. He proudly explains that these people saved him from a drunkard back in Arclus. The woman listens intently to her son's story, her expression softening. She thanks them for helping her son, who she notes is always causing trouble. At that moment, Anaria's stomach lets out a thunderous growl, reminding everyone of food. The woman smiles, suggesting that a meal would be the most fitting reward. Kakeru thinks to himself that one of these things is not like the others. In a spacious kitchen, the woman, Medina, tells a helper named Lester to assist her. Lester retrieves a handful of crystalline ingredients from a well-stocked shelf. Medina places the crystals into a bowl of what appears to be ordinary water. She holds her hands over the bowl, beginning to chant a magical incantation. She calls upon the name of the great spirit of water, Undine. She asks the spirit to grant her request with a quiet, focused intensity. The water begins to sparkle with light, instantly purifying the ingredients within. Kakeru watches in amazement, wondering if this is yet another form of magic. He observes Medina's actions with a look of intense and genuine curiosity. Medina asks if it's his first time witnessing what is known as life magic. Gask happily prepares some food while Medina and a curious Kakeru look on. In the warm kitchen, Medina demonstrates her life magic over a bowl. Gask holds up a handful of the sparkling, magically purified crystals. Ranamel and Inaria praise Medina, saying her cooking is better than any taverns. Medina smiles, explaining that she used to be a cook in her youth. A magnificent feast is spread across the table for the hungry adventurers. Inaria, her mouth watering, declares with glee that it is time to eat. Kakeru savors a bite of bone-in meat, remarking how delicious everything is. Lester agrees, noting the tree nuts in the sauce are a wonderful accent. Kakeru reflects that eating good food is a comfort that heals the soul. The entire group laughs and eats, sharing a moment of warm camaraderie. After the feast, a steaming cup of tea is placed on the table. Lester thanks Medina for the lovely and thoughtful after-dinner tea. Medina insists it is no trouble, since they saved her precious son. As a token of gratitude, Kakeru offers to purchase a potion from their shop. He makes a specific request, asking to buy a very rare high elixir. Medina's gaze sharpens. She recalls seeing one on the counter earlier. She admits she playfully mixed it in among the regular stamina potions. A challenging, knowing look crosses her face as she murmurs, She presents 5 identical bottles, asking him to pick out the high elixir. Kakeru calmly observes the potions, considering his choice for a moment. He confidently points to one bottle, knowing its legendary properties. Medina is impressed, admitting that he has seen through her little test. She explains she acquired it by chance and was waiting for the right person. A brief transitional panel shows the quiet interior of the magic shop. Medina asks his guild rank. Gask is shocked to hear he is a novice. Flanked by his companions, Kakeru explains that his situation is complicated. Medina decides to give him the priceless potion, much to his surprise. She would rather it belong to someone who knows its value than gather dust. Kakeru gratefully accepts her generous offer and the rare shining potion. Medina tells them they are always welcome, as her shop is usually quiet. Gask objects loudly, saying she just told him to be quiet earlier. Medina quickly shushes her son, saying more customers would be tiring. Lester remarks on how Kakeru was much faster than Bash in their fight. Kakeru speculates that the other patrons were likely all adventurers too. Outside, Ranamel asks why he bought a potion when it was a gift. Kakeru looks to the sky, deciding it's time to find an inn for the night. Ranamel excitedly spots an inn down a side street and points it out. The ornate sign reads the adult playground, to Kakeru's absolute horror. A look of immediate regret and deep embarrassment crosses Kakeru's face. He frantically tries to stop them, insisting that place is no good. Another sign is shown, this one for the Wind Spirits Pleasure Pavilion. A cheerful hostess with long dark hair welcomes them warmly inside. At the reception desk, Kakeru asks for 2 rooms for their party of 3. Inaria immediately demands to know why they would need 2 separate rooms. She explains she needs to receive his magic, just as Ranamel did last night. Ranamel agrees, saying 1 room is cheaper and she can take the floor. As a line forms, Kakeru insists he will be the one to sleep on the floor. The hostess offers a solution, a single room with 2 large beds. Kakeru notes the beds are big enough for 2, so they should be fine. Inaria throws an arm around him, boldly declaring she'll sleep with Kakeru. She repeats her shocking declaration to the flustered hostess. Kakeru sweats nervously, looking for any way out of this misunderstanding. Ranamel blushes, assuming the 2 of them are in a romantic relationship. Inside their spacious room, Inaria comments on how large it is. She immediately asks about the bathing situation, wondering where the baths are. Ranamel raises her hand, cheerfully volunteering to go and find them. She tells Kakeru and Inaria to rest while she handles the task. Kakeru thanks her as she leaves, while Inaria tests the bed's bounciness. Once alone, Kakeru asks Inaria to properly explain the magic transfer. Inaria rolls up her sleeve, revealing a complex dragon-like tattoo. She tells him to look at his own right arm for the matching mark. Kakeru is shocked to find an identical crest appearing on his forearm. He vaguely remembers seeing the symbol in the game when they formed their pact. She explains this crest is the conduit for transferring his magic to her. He asks if she truly needs his magic. She confirms it is essential. She explains that receiving a tamer's magic makes a dragon even stronger. Kakeru is surprised to learn about this hidden property of their bond. Inaria warns that without the transfer, she will weaken and eventually die. He realizes he entrusted her with half his life, and she confirms their shared fate. Kakeru shoots up from the bed, his face a mask of utter horror. Inaria watches him with a soft, knowing, and gentle expression. She calmly states her ambition, to become stronger than any other dragon. It is the inherent nature of a proud blaze dragon to seek out power. She sensed his immense magic and agreed to the pact to obtain that strength. She was willing to risk a shorter life for a chance at ultimate power. Kakeru realizes her thirst for power explains her strength against Verlegia. Her breath attack was so strong because it was mixed with his own magic. He admits he had other reasons for being glad about their contract. He asks her not to laugh as he prepares to confess something personal. He confesses he just wanted someone to sleep beside him to feel safe. Inaria admits she had never been able to trust anyone enough to get close. But everything changed with him. He was completely unguarded and open. He had no hostility, which made her feel a strange sense of jealousy. It was a completely new and profound experience for the proud dragon. Kakeru wonders aloud if this is how blaze dragons raise their young. Inaria laughs, saying they just lay eggs near volcanoes and then leave. She tells him he was the first person to ever grant her deepest wish. Her hand gently finds his, a quiet gesture of their profound connection. She looks at him earnestly, telling him not to have any regrets. Kakeru looks back, his own expression softening with deep understanding. Leaning forward, she asks if he finally understands their situation. He smiles, vowing to become a partner she will never regret choosing. She warns that her expectations are high, but he remains undeterred. A radiant smile breaks across her face as she says, "In that case, it's fine." Now that he understands, she asks if it's okay for them to sleep together. She explains the transfer requires close contact, unlike with her tail. Ranamel returns at that exact moment, seeing them close together on the bed. She blushes furiously, thinking Kakeru is seducing Inaria in broad daylight. Later, the three settle into their separate beds for the night. They exchange quiet goodnights as the room fades into peaceful darkness. Kakeru sleeps soundly, relieved to finally be done with sleeping in the wild. He is suddenly jolted from his sleep, aware of a strange warmth against him. With a shock, he realizes Inaria is clinging tightly to him in her sleep. He knows this is for her magic supply, but it feels a little too close. Steeling himself, he decides he must simply endure the situation for her sake. As he drifts off, his surroundings dissolve into a strange and silent black void. A familiar voice reassures him that he is safe and alive in this new world. Kakeru recognizes God, who apologizes for the sudden intrusion into his mind. God explains he is borrowing the dream and asks how Kakeru finds this new life. Kakeru's heartfelt gratitude brings a pleased smile to the deity's face. Satisfied, God offers him the chance to ask one important question. His mind floods with questions, but one stands out above all the others. He asks why God chose that specific time and place for his reincarnation. He presses further, knowing God must have been aware of Ranamel's nearby plight. God confesses that another deity interfered with the highly questionable reincarnation process. This meddling altered his destination and put the princess directly in harm's way. The deity apologizes profusely for his eagerness to send a fellow game enthusiast. He assures Kakeru he has protested and such interference will not happen again. With the explanation over, God reveals that he has a personal request. He asks Kakeru to defeat the dark dragon, harden Verlegia, on his behalf. God clarifies he wants the dragon released from its suffering, just like Ranamel was. Kakeru realizes Verlegia survived Inaria's attack, confirming its incredible resilience. The dragon acts out of a deep sorrow, a wish it can never hope to fulfill. It is trapped, endlessly reliving the nightmare of its tragic and sorrowful past. A voice calls his name, pulling him from the profound dreamscape back to reality. He awakens to Inaria, who is already up and cheerfully telling him to wake up. She eagerly reminds him of their plans, worried all the good quests will be taken. He sleepily assures her that plenty of monster-slaying quests will still be available. Offended, she yanks his blanket away, declaring his laziness unbecoming of her dragon knight. Checking his status, he confirms the nightly magic transfer to Inaria was a success. He calculates his magic recovery rate, concluding that sustaining her will be no problem. A cheerful Ranamel arrives with breakfast, inviting them all to eat together. Kakeru smiles, gratefully thanking the princess for her kind and thoughtful gesture. Kakeru asks if Ranamel is injured, but she explains it's her daily prayer. He observes her, thinking to himself what a deeply faithful person she is. With breakfast served, Ranamel announces that the food is ready for them. Kakeru marvels at the food's taste, while Inaria urges him to eat well. Kakeru interrupts their meal, saying he has something important to discuss with them. He wants to take a quest to find hardened Verlegia, shocking his companions. Kakeru struggles, wondering how he can possibly explain his divine mission to them. In a dream, he promised God he would put the tormented dragon to rest. The divine being had entrusted him with releasing the dragon from its suffering. Back in the present, he searches for the right words to convey this. He explains that the person who sent him to this world asked a favor. To repay his great debt, he is determined to grant this person's wish. Ranamel agrees, and Ainaria eagerly anticipates another fight with the scrap metal dragon. Ranamel admits she's scared, but Ainaria reminds her Kakeru has already won once. Ranamel marvels that Kakeru is stronger than a dragon, much to his embarrassment. Ranamel operates his holographic item screen, selecting a gift for their quest. She presents him with a crystalline charm she calls the Guardian Jewel. It will boost his defense and recovery, proving useful in a difficult situation. He gratefully accepts her gift, and their new mission is officially decided upon. Ainaria leaps up, eager to go check the guild's quest board immediately. They soon arrive back at the impressive Arclus Adventurers Guild Hall. The group stands before the quest board, split between subjugation and gathering missions. A heavily armored adventurer carefully considers a quest posted on the wooden board. Ranamel wonders why the adventurers seem to be ignoring the subjugation quests. A veteran adventurer explains that most hunt monsters for valuable crafting materials. Since these materials aren't sold in shops, many avoid pure subjugation quests. Ainaria realizes that in this world, adventurers are essentially monster hunting groups. Kakeru understands that this is reality, not a game with infinite respawns. Kakeru presents his chosen quest to the receptionist for the Nafi's Highlands. She warns him it's a dangerous place with volatile weather and powerful monsters. With a look of genuine concern, she urges him to please be careful. Kakeru simply smiles, thanking her for the kind and heartfelt warning. His expression is firm and confident, ready to face the dangers ahead. Soaring high above a rugged landscape, Ainaria announces their destination is in sight. Ranamel marvels at their speed as Ainaria boasts she could fly even faster. Kakeru prefers a slower pace, wanting to enjoy the scenery and conserve magic. Ainaria comically warns that without a proper barrier, he would be blown away. As they fly, Kakeru outlines their two-part plan for the mission ahead. He recalls Verlegia's lair from the game, suspecting it is in the same location. Ainaria agrees to perform a wide aerial survey of the highlands for reconnaissance. Kakeru retrieves a familiar tool from his inventory to get a closer look. He decides to observe the local ecosystem with a pair of powerful binoculars. Through the lenses, he spots a herd of small, goat-like creatures grazing peacefully. Suddenly, a massive saber-toothed beast pounces, revealing the world's brutal nature. Kakeru is struck by how visceral and real the struggle for survival is here. Ainaria notes the world is vast and their quest target is not easily found. She confirms the monster they seek is a gigant naga, a crocodilian serpent. This beast has been terrorizing a nearby village, prompting the subjugation request. Ranamel adds that villagers saw it heading upriver into the highlands. The villagers' plight reminds her of monsters that once threatened her own homeland. Clenching her fists, she declares that she understands their fear all too well. With conviction, she vows they will defeat it and bring peace to the village. Kakeru is moved by her passionate resolve, a gentle smile gracing his lips. He agrees to fulfill their duty, spotting their target in the distance. Down below, the massive white-scaled gigant naga finally appears in a clearing. With a mighty roar, Ainaria dives towards the beast, ready for a swift kill. Ranamel, wanting to contribute, prepares a magical attack from her position. She gathers her power, determined to support her newfound friends in the fight. Calling on the wind god, she unleashes her powerful Storm Cutter spell. The sharp blade of wind slices through the air, striking the monster's back. But the attack simply clangs off the beast's thick hide, completely ineffective. Ranamel is horrified that her spell failed, despite her putting all her power into it. Kakeru quickly takes command, telling her to conserve magic and prepare to heal. He decides to use this as a training opportunity, asking Ainaria about other spells. Ainaria playfully asks if he has forgotten the incantations for his signature moves. Her expression turns serious, hinting there is a deeper reason for their joint chanting. As the reptilian beast charges, Ainaria commands Kakeru to cast the speed-enhancing Wind Excel. The colossal gigant naga roars, its attack patterns perfectly matching Kakeru's game knowledge. He calls out to Ainaria, requesting her assistance with a powerful incantation. His voice is firm and clear as he asks for her help with the chant. Ainaria eagerly agrees, telling him she is ready to begin the spell. Kakeru plants his feet, a glowing magic circle materializing as he begins his chant. Together, their voices ring out, unleashing the powerful speed-enhancing spell, Wind Axel. A vortex of pure energy swirls around Kakeru, imbuing his body with swiftness. He grins with exhilaration, marveling at how incredibly light his body feels now. He effortlessly sidesteps the beast's clumsy charge, letting it crash into empty space. He realizes the spell boosts all his movements, not just his evasion. With his sword ready, he calls out to Inaria, signaling the next phase. Inaria invokes a legendary skill, the war god's martial art, from above. Kakeru's blade ignites with swirling flames as he prepares the ultimate technique, Kenbu Enten. His face is a mask of pure, unadulterated battle focus as he prepares to strike. He unleashes the attack, a massive wave of fire surging towards the monster. Inaria watches from above, certain that their foe will not escape this blow. The fiery attack slams into the Gigant Naga, engulfing it in a massive explosion. Kakeru stands amidst the aftermath, while Ranamel looks on in absolute shock. Ranamel is rendered speechless, whispering in awe at the power she just witnessed. The massive severed head of the beast sails through the air, trailing blood. She watches the head fall, stunned that he decapitated it with a single blow. Kakeru analyzes the result, noting it was less flashy than in the game. Inaria lands, commenting that a more challenging quest would have been better practice. Kakeru considers harvesting materials, and Inaria enthusiastically offers to do the messy work. Ranamel expresses her concern, asking if Kakeru is tired from using so much magic. He appreciates her thoughtfulness as she offers to gather the beast's fangs and claws. Impressed by her butchering experience, he agrees to let her handle the harvesting. Inaria watches them, telling them to wait just a moment before they decide. Ranamel eagerly rolls up her sleeves, clearly excited to get to work. She pulls out her small knife, ready to start carving up the massive carcass. Inaria reminds Kakeru it is time for them to begin their own search. Ranamel works with practiced skill, finding joy in the rewarding task of butchering. Kakeru tells Inaria they'll leave Ranamel to her work while they hunt Veria. Ranamel gives a cheerful wave, telling them to be safe and come back soon. They fly toward a massive, thundering waterfall that dominates the rocky landscape. Kakeru confirms to Inaria that this is the largest waterfall in the area. He decides the turbulent water is a perfect hiding spot and tells her to land. His expression is grim. He knows this reconnaissance could quickly turn into a battle. He is determined to fulfill God's request, and Inaria obeys his command to descend. They land on the rocky shore, standing before the roaring curtain of water. He instructs Inaria to wait outside while he investigates the hidden cave alone. He quickly drinks a sneaking potion from a small vial to become invisible. Inaria is surprised as his body becomes semi-transparent, a real-world effect. She asks for instructions in an emergency. He will give her a signal. With a final gesture, he slips behind the waterfall and into the dark cave. Inside, he moves cautiously on the slippery ground, trying to remain unheard. He ventures deeper into the oppressive darkness, sensing the lair is just ahead. Peering around a corner, his face is tense with a mixture of caution and anticipation. The cave is empty. He concludes that the master of this den is currently out. He holds up a magic lantern, its light piercing the cavern's deep gloom. He walks through the space, initially thinking it is just an ordinary damp cave. His lantern's beam suddenly illuminates a large, dark pile in a corner. He stops, his eyes widening in horror at the gruesome contents of the pile. He sees not just monster remains, but the discarded armor of human warriors. The lantern reveals the full, horrifying scale of the charnel house before him. With a cold certainty, he realizes this is undoubtedly Verlija's foul dwelling. He deduces the dragon must be out hunting its prey at this very moment. He sees the equipment is made from monster parts, a common adventurer's choice. He recalls the guild had no reports of adventurers going missing in this area. The chilling truth dawns on him. Verlia is why no large monsters remain. He understands the dragon is intelligent, deliberately hunting the world's strongest beings. He wonders what twisted philosophy could drive such an indiscriminate, powerful hunter. Outside, Inaria waits by the waterfall, her expression one of mild impatience. Kakeru emerges, and Inaria immediately asks if he found the beast inside. He sighs, exhausted, lamenting how difficult a mere mid-boss has become in reality. He walks away from the cave, rejoining his partner on the rocky shore. Inaria grimly suggests Verlia is hunting the strong as a form of martial training. Kakeru sits, wondering how many adventurers have already become victims of the dragon. Inaria notes that God's direct intervention proves how serious the situation truly is. She points out that by hunting the strong, Verlia may now be targeting them. Kakeru worries about Verlia's current form, knowing its final evolution would be catastrophic. Inaria asks if he intends to launch an aggressive, all-out attack on the beast. He decides against it, preferring to wait for a miraculous opportunity to present itself. Ainoria accepts his command, promising to create a battlefield whenever he is ready. The story flashes back to the village gate, where a guard is utterly shocked. In the narrow passage, Ainoria is squeezed uncomfortably against Kakeru's back. She complains that it's impossible to get through alone, much to her companion's dismay. An hour earlier, Ranamel had happily agreed to their plan to visit the village. She had reminded Kakeru that the guild requested they report directly to the client. Kakeru had agreed, knowing a hunt for Veria was impossible that day anyway. Ranamel suggested bringing the monster's meat as a gift for the troubled villagers. Kakeru mused that direct reporting was another key difference from the game world. Ranamel watched with wide-eyed curiosity as Kakeru prepared his item box. The entire mountain of meat vanished in a flash of light into his inventory. She begged him to teach her his secret art, but he couldn't explain it. As night fell, they arrived at the quaint, walled village of Erudite. The wooden gates were reinforced with stone and embedded with glowing magic crystals. The trio inspected the wall with Kakeru noting the strange nature of the stones. A young guard peered over the wall, asking what they were doing there. Kakeru introduced them as adventurers, here to report their successful subjugation. The guard's face exploded with joy, shouting that they defeated the crocodile snake. Kakeru tried to calm the overly excited guard, asking him to wait a moment. The guard threw the gates open wide, enthusiastically welcoming them into the village. The entrance passage was revealed to be dauntingly and impossibly narrow. The view from inside confirmed just how tight the squeeze would be for them. Ainoria despaired at the narrow path, while Kakeru tried to encourage her. She was comically squished against Kakeru as they struggled through the passage. A close-up shot emphasizes the extremely tight and awkward squeeze. Kakeru blushed, clearly embarrassed by the very close physical contact with Ainoria. Ranamel offered Ainoria her arm for support as the guard watched them, amused. A village guard gestures toward a large building, offering to guide them. A young villager excitedly explains they saw the adventurers who answered their request. He bursts into the house announcing that the adventurers have arrived. He proudly tells the chief they have subjugated the great black snake. The village chief, a kind-faced man with a prosthetic leg, looks up warmly. Kakeru introduces himself, shaking hands with the chief, whose name is Doid. Doid immediately asks if they brought proof, like the monster's fangs or scales. Kakeru smiles, confirming he has proof that will reassure all the villagers. With a flash, he summons the monster's remains from his item box. Doid stares in utter amazement, asking if they have a large box. Kakeru clarifies that the massive pile of meat is a gift for them. The young villager's eyes sparkle with joy at the incredible sight. He raises his arms, declaring that tonight they will have a grand feast. Doid is overwhelmed, saying he can't possibly thank them enough for this bounty. Later, the chief's young daughter, Lucy, asks about their other battles. Doid gently tells her that such talk is still too soon for her. He explains that she is too young to understand the true horrors of monsters. He doesn't want to encourage reckless dreams, knowing the danger himself. Ainoria quietly observes Doid's prosthetic leg, a mark of a harsh past. Doid admits his leg is the price he paid for youthful recklessness. He looks at the party with sincere concern, telling them to be careful. He muses that youthful passion must be tempered with calm judgment. Kakeru nods respectfully, promising to take the chief's advice to heart. Doid apologizes for lecturing his guests and offers to answer any questions. Kakeru says there is in fact one thing he would like to ask. He asks if Doid has seen any strange or unusual dragons nearby. The chief's expression darkens instantly, his hand balling into a tight fist. Kakeru thinks bingo as he realizes he's on the right track. Doid rests a hand on his leg, the memory clearly a painful one. He confirms he saw it, which explains the recent strange monster activity. He and his men saw a terrifying dragon with 4 wings and multiple eyes. A chilling close-up reveals Verlegia's monstrous, chained and snarling face. The dragon merely observed them before flying deeper into the highlands. Kakeru knows this confirms Verlegia's pattern of challenging the strong. The image of the bone-filled cave flashes through his mind. He thanks Doid, wondering if the dragon has already left the area. He is surprised when the chief continues with more information. Doid explains that the smaller monsters have become unusually active lately. Ainoria realizes this means Verlegia has hunted the larger prey into hiding. Doid gives a final grim warning. One mistake will cost more than a leg. Ainoria scoffs, confidently vowing to finish the beast off next time. Doid smiles warmly, feeling that with them, things will turn out well. That evening, the entire village gathers for a joyous feast under the stars. Ranamel excitedly asks Kakeru what the city of Arklus is like. Ainoria happily tears into a massive piece of roasted meat. Doid tells Kakeru that they still don't know where Veria is hiding. but he is immensely relieved that all of his villagers are safe. Kakeru watches the happy scene, a new resolve hardening in his eyes. For the sake of these people, he vows he will absolutely defeat Verligia. Verligia's dark form looms. It has no words for others of its kind. A memory surfaces. A blindfolded woman calls him her hero, her savior. In his twisted mind, the beasts that harmed her were the true evil. His rage at her death transformed him into a monstrous, armored beast. He now hunts the strong, absorbing their power to fulfill her wish. The memory of her urges him to crush the dragon knight before him. He recalls their solemn pact, a bond that intertwined their very fates. Back in the present, Ranamel awakens with a sharp gasp. She sits up in bed, finally feeling her hangover has subsided. Kakeru gently chides her, telling her to be more careful next time. 2 days prior, the villagers had waved them off after the feast. During the celebration, Enaria had eaten and drank to her heart's content. Predictably, she became blackout drunk, much to Kakeru's unease. The flight back was turbulent, with a queasy Ranamel clinging on for dear life. Kakeru sits on his bed as Ranamel recovers from sleeping for a full day. She asks where Enaria is, and Kakeru says she went to the guild. He adds that she mentioned finding a quest and grabbing breakfast. A sudden loud knock on the door interrupts their conversation. Kakeru smiles, welcoming Enaria back as the door swings open. Enaria stands in the doorway, holding several skewers of dango. She thrusts the food into Kakeru's hands without a word. In her other hand, she holds out a quest notice from the royal capital. Kakeru takes the paper, wondering what this could be about. Enaria explains that a high-level party was wiped out by a dragon. Kakeru knows instantly it was Verligia and decides to head to the guild. Ranamel insists she is fine now and will work to earn her keep. At the guild, the receptionist apologizes profusely for a mistake. Kakeru explains he was looking for that specific quest request anyway. She reveals the dragon is now advancing towards the royal capital itself. Kakeru stands in stunned silence, processing the grave news. The party leaves the guild, their urgent destination now clear. Kakeru calculates that even at full speed, the flight will take half a day. He realizes Ranamel's father, the king, is in the dragon's path. Ranamel steps forward, declaring she will go with them, no matter where. She refuses to just run away, vowing to be a true companion. Kakeru and Enaria share a smile, moved by her newfound courage. He takes her hand, promising that they will absolutely protect her. Outside the city walls, Kakeru prepares a wind protection jewel. Enaria transforms, eager to go and blow that metal scrap away. Her hand shifts, growing into a powerful scaled dragon's claw. Ranamel climbs onto Enaria's back as they prepare for takeoff. They launch into the sky, riding the air currents towards the capital. Kakeru knows that to fight this foe, he must use that equipment. His armored finger taps a command on his holographic interface. Instantly, his armor shifts into the menacing black Tenmodo set. This armor's unique skill, Dragon Attack, is only effective against dragons. He recalls the immense power he felt when fighting the Gigant Naga. His face, hidden behind his helmet, is set with grim determination. They arrive to find the capital of Phalanx under a full-scale assault. A horde of savage, wolf-like monsters pours through a breach in the wall. The royal knights fight desperately, vowing to protect the citizens with their lives. A royal knight roars at his men to break through the enemy lines. A massive explosion of dark energy rocks the battlefield with a deafening boom. A panicked knight screams a warning for everyone to get down immediately. The blast erupts, sending the kingdom's soldiers scattering like leaves in a storm. A fallen soldier laments that even their finest troops cannot land a single blow. A monstrous, wolf-like beast lets out a terrifying roar, its maw wide. A brave knight shields a small, terrified child from the charging monster. The knight and the child look up, their faces a mixture of terror and awe. With a ground-shaking thud, the magnificent blaze dragon, Enaria, makes her entrance. From her back, Ranamel observes that their monstrous foe is completely transformed. The dark dragon, Verligia, is revealed in its terrifying and twisted final form. A knight on the ground shouts in disbelief at the sight of a second dragon. He recognizes the black dragon, its rider, and the fugitive Princess Ranamel. The soldiers wonder if the princess has brought this champion to save them. Kakeru notes Verligia's attack power is now on a completely different level. Enaria roars, declaring that they are the dark dragon's true opponent. Verligia rumbles, its massive body vibrating with a low, threatening growl. Enaria realizes with a smirk that the dark dragon is actually laughing. She accepts the challenge, roaring that they will settle the score right now. Verligia lets out a deafening roar, signaling the start of the final battle. With impossible speed, Verligia lunges forward, ignoring Enaria entirely. The dark dragon streaks past its counterpart, its eyes fixed solely on Kakeru. Kakeru looks up in surprise as a massive dark claw descends upon him. He spots a glowing, intricate contract crest on the back of the claw. Verligia wonders aloud if its opponent also has a Dragon Knight partner. Kakeru silently questions if this means Verligia has a partner of its own. The glowing crest is a clear sign of a powerful binding pact. Inaria lands, explaining that Kakeru's assumption is only partially correct. She reveals the crest proves Verligia isn't receiving magic from its partner. To survive, it has been hunting and devouring others to steal their magic. Kakeru realizes with grim certainty that Verligia's partner is already gone. Inaria sneers at the pathetic way the dark dragon is clinging to life. She finds its desperate, parasitic method of survival utterly disgusting. She condemns dragons who seek power without accepting the fate of their bonds. The mention of its partner's death seems to enrage the dark dragon. Verligia lets out a soul-shattering shriek of pure, undiluted grief and rage. Kakeru realizes Verligia just spoke, confirming its high level of intelligence. With a roar, Inaria takes to the sky in hot pursuit of the dark dragon. Verligia unleashes a volley of shadowy projectiles from high above the city. It taunts them, declaring that it has taken the bait and is now flying. Ranamel screams for Inaria to flee with every ounce of her strength. Kakeru notes that his foe has cleverly hidden itself within the clouds. Inaria marvels at the incredible speed of such a massive beast. Kakeru chants, becoming one with divine speed to counter with Thunderbolt. The two opposing spells collide in a cataclysmic mid-air explosion. Kakeru grunts from the sheer force of the magical backlash. He realizes his vision is obscured, a deliberate tactic by his opponent. Ranamel calls on the wind god's sword to carve a path through the smoke. Her Stormcutter spell slices true, striking Verligia's wing with a flash. Kakeru anxiously calls out to Inaria, asking if she is all right. Shrapnel from the explosion rips into Inaria's side with blinding speed. Her massive foot slams into the ground as she lands heavily from the blow. Kakeru rushes to her side, asking Ranamel if she can heal the wound. Ranamel confirms she can, but the deep gash will drain all her magic. Inaria orders them to worry about Kakeru, as Verligia's movements are different. Kakeru looks on, knowing this is a foe he has fought countless times. Ranamel is confused, wondering what he could possibly mean by countless times. He thinks of his irreplaceable companions, the new bonds he has forged. He vows with cold fury that he will not allow them to be hurt. He declares that he will end this fight right here and now. Verligia roars that it will reclaim its pride for its deceased master. It vows to curse Kakeru and drag him down into the depths of hell. Kakeru begins his incantation, calling on the breath of the great earth. He casts Wind Excel, his body becoming a blur of magical energy. He parries a tail swipe, recognizing the attack pattern from the game. He knows that taking a direct hit from this would be instantly fatal. Verligia sees an opening and prepares to strike, declaring that now is his chance. Kakeru calls upon the war god's ultimate martial art to shatter his foe. He leaps, unleashing his flaming sword technique, Kenbu Enten, upon the beast. His fiery blade descends in a brilliant arc toward the dark dragon. Verligia twists with impossible speed, blocking the blow with its armored wing. The dark dragon lets out a guttural roar of triumph, having survived. Kakeru realizes his strategy is correct against the dragon's magic barrier. He touches his helmet, realizing his attack power is not being penalized. He never imagined he could be headed, even with his dragon-slaying skills. He understands that in this world, the Tamer's attack debuff doesn't apply. With a surge of power, he realizes he is fighting at his full potential. Ranamel watches in awe as Inaria explains his extensive evasion training. Kakeru expertly slips past a vicious claw swipe, a blur of motion. He lands a solid blow on Verligia's side, the impact sharp and clear. He leaps back into the air, creating distance after his successful strike. He knows he must be careful, employing a disciplined hit-and-run strategy. Verligia counters with a furious, sweeping attack, enraged by the tactic. Kakeru parries the blow, the force of the impact sending shivers up his arm. The dark dragon roars in frustration that none of its attacks are landing. Kakeru lands another glancing blow, chipping away at the monster's health. He sees a brief opening, a chance to press his advantage. But Verligia recovers with unnatural speed, its rage fueling its movements. Blood drips from its wound as it groans in disbelief at Kakeru's skill. Kakeru knows he can keep pushing, but he feels his own power waning. He notices the glowing aura of his magic beginning to fade away. He calculates his remaining magic points, knowing his reserves are dwindling. He grimly notes his attacks have only dealt about 30% damage. He considers using his one high elixir, his ultimate trump card for the battle. He resolves that if it comes to it, he must fight without magic. He knows a purely physical fight against this monster is almost certainly unwinnable. Veria takes to the sky, forcing Kakeru to be cautious of its next move. The beast roars down, declaring that the Dragon Knight's fun is now over. A massive, intricate magic circle materializes in the sky above the city. Kakeru looks up in horror, realizing it plans to obliterate everything below. Kakeru stands defiant as a storm of dark magic descends from the sky. The ground erupts in a series of violent magical explosions all around him. Inoria lets out a ferocious roar, shouting her partner's name in warning. She shields him with her body, absorbing the full force of the blast. The attack was a close call, she thinks, landing just a hair's breadth away. High above, Veria wheels through the air after unleashing its devastating barrage. Inoria realizes Veria took flight, knowing it couldn't win a fight on the ground. She marvels at its endless magic, but Kakeru declares he has plenty of leeway. A flash of light emanates from Kakeru as he accesses his inventory. He announces his plan to switch weapons and respond in kind to the assault. He summons the Suisei-Hu, a massive and futuristic comet cannon. He realizes this world's rules let him equip weapons regardless of his class. He orders Inoria to keep the dark dragon from getting any closer to them. Veria seems confused, questioning why he's only now using such a convenient weapon. Kakeru admits his sword is more effective, and this cannon was unusable in the game. He tells Inoria he will knock their foe down with a single, powerful technique. Inoria begins a powerful chant, calling upon the flame god, her ancient ancestor. The comet cannon fires, its beam of pure energy striking Veria directly. The dark dragon is sent hurtling downwards, overwhelmed by the incredible force. Ranamel, held safely by Kakeru, anxiously wonders if the beast will escape. The mysterious hooded knight watches from afar, stunned by the turn of events. A massive explosion of crackling energy blossoms in the sky where the beam hit. Inoria unleashes a torrent of fire to finish the job on the grounded dragon. A sea of flames blankets the battlefield, incinerating the crash site. Kakeru shields Ranamel from the intense heat of the fiery inferno. Ranamel asks if that was an original skill, something not seen in the game. The hooded knight can only remark on the incredible power of the attack. After the flames die down, only a massive, smoldering crater remains. Inoria declares it was a direct hit, calling Veria a true monster if it survives. A low, ominous rumble begins to sound from the heart of the crater. From the rubble, Veria rises, its twisted form regenerating from the damage. Inoria and Kakeru can only stare in disbelief at the dragon's resilience. Seeing an opening, Kakeru leaps from Inoria's back to press the attack. He believes this is the perfect moment to strike the weakened beast. He charges forward, intending to finally take the dragon's head. He prepares to unleash his ultimate sword skill, Kenbu, and one last time. Suddenly, a sorrowful roar echoes not in the air, but inside his own mind. He finds himself in a strange vision, a world where only strength matters. The voice of a younger dragon asks who he is and where they are. The memory begins, with the dragon asking its visitor to identify themselves. Kakeru sees a young, blindfolded woman alone and battered in the pouring rain. A younger, sleeker Veria discovers her amidst a rocky, desolate landscape. The dragon states that this entire vast area is its home. The frightened woman introduces herself, her voice trembling as she says her name is Mary. She asks to be taken to his home, but he replies that dragons do not have them. Mary quietly accepts this, a sad understanding in her voice. She offers a simple, heartfelt thank you for his unexpected kindness. The dragon notes her pleasant scent, finding it strangely intriguing. She explains it is a lovely perfume, a gift from her sister. They spent their days in the cave, sharing stories of their separate lives. The memory shifts from the stark cave to a beautiful sunlit garden. Mary wishes she could show him the garden, a place of dancing butterflies. The dragon asks if she does not wish to see it for herself. She replies sadly that her eyes can no longer see anything. He touches her gently, expecting her to flee like any other small creature. Her eyes open wide, seeing for the first time as she whispers, "I can see." Overcome with joy, she embraces him, exclaiming that she can now see everything. The memory shows the two of them soaring through the sky together. He brought her to his pride and joy, a beautiful garden of flowers. She invited him to live with her, not wanting him to be lonely in his cave. As a princess of the Narinri Empire, Mary was often the target of assassins. The dragon protected her fiercely, easily dispatching any would-be killers. She thanks him once again, her smile radiant as she calls him her hero. She asks if he will continue to be her hero from that day forward. He believed their peaceful life would last forever, but her sudden death ended it all. Overcome with rage, he attacked the Empire, seeking vengeance for his loss. He fought until he collapsed, mortally wounded and utterly defeated. Mary's spirit rushed to his side, pleading for him to get help. The dying dragon simply asked that his body be left in freedom after his death. Weeping, she refused to give up, begging him to form a contract with her. A contract, she explained, would grant him power, perhaps enough to heal her eyes. He knew his wounds were fatal, but he considered her desperate plea. He decided that sharing a single fate with her would not be so bad. He told her not to cry, vowing that he would protect her. In his final moments, he understood the warmth she had brought to his lonely existence. She smiled, asking if he would continue to be her hero, the strongest of dragons. The memory of her face becomes a hazy, indistinct blur. The vision shifts to Verligia, now bound in armor and chains. He stands amidst the ruins of the empire he single-handedly destroyed. His mind is fractured, wondering what happened and how this destruction occurred. He looks upon the dead soldiers, asking if he was the one responsible. Sensing a survivor, he moves to finish the job, his mind clouded. A robed figure announces the name of this new weapon, Imperial Dragon Hardened Verligia. He is enthroned, bound by machines, now a hero to the very nation he attacked. Mary's voice echoes in his memory, asking him to wait just a little longer. A flash of memory shows an attack, perhaps the one that claimed Mary's life. His chains are unlocked, unleashing his grief-fueled power upon the world. He is freed, but now bound by an eternal, sorrowful rage. He looks upon his new existence as a truly pathetic end. His body was repaired, but his soul was killed while his master slept. Awakening, he believes he will never see her smile again, but then finds a new hope. He reasons that a soul, being pure magic, might be resurrected. He looks upon his own powerful form, now a vessel for his desperate plan. To achieve his goal, he must steal the magic, the souls of others. With enough power, he can resurrect his master and see her smile once more. He vows to bring her back to the beautiful garden they once shared. Kakeru's sword is poised as he asks if this is his retribution. He understands Verligia's goal and accepts the punishment that is to come. He tells the dragon its wish was granted, but it cannot be saved. Inaria roars her encouragement, telling Kakeru that he can do this. Inaria condemns the foolish dragon who sought power without accepting its own fate. She taunts the beast, declaring that it hasn't truly lost its master yet. As Kakeru dives to attack, she challenges him to face this curse he claims to understand. Verligia roars for the Dragon Knight to be gone, vowing to share its regrets. A concussive blast of force erupts, sending Kakeru flying as Inaria screams his name. His small silhouette is thrown through the air by the massive explosion. Through his cracked helmet, Kakeru is shocked the dragon can still move so well. With a grunt of effort, the dark dragon swoops down for another attack. Inaria shields him with her body, frantically asking if he is conscious as he weakly responds. The damage is immense. Kakeru knows he needs to use that item immediately. With a shaking hand, he quickly downs the life-saving potion he received from Medina. A brilliant light envelops him, his body and magic power rapidly recovering. Inaria tells him to get on her back, ready to finish the fight with her breath. But Verligia is relentless, unleashing a volley of dark energy projectiles from the sky. Inaria desperately erects a magical barrier to defend against the incoming storm of attacks. The powerful shield shatters under the overwhelming assault. Seeing his friends in peril, Kakeru tells Inaria to let him down to fight. His gaze is firm through his helmet as he pleads with her to trust him. His eye burns with unwavering resolve, a silent promise to end this fight. Inaria's reptilian eye stares back, a moment of silent consideration passing between them. She snarls, telling him he must win in return, or she will never forgive him. Kakeru lands, agreeing that victory is certain, as he's not yet a top adventurer. His focus is absolute, his gaze locked on the monstrous foe before him. He analyzes the swirling magical barrier, realizing only a close-range attack will succeed. This will be a duel decided by a single, decisive blow. He steels himself to deliver that one strike that will bring this battle to an end. He is resolved to be the one to finally conclude the dragon's long tragedy. He declares that whatever Verligia's cause, he has his own reasons for not losing here. Kneeling in a glowing circle, he casts Wind Axle, imbuing himself with speed. He then unleashes the ultimate flaming sword technique, Kenbu and Ten. The fiery blade clashes against Verligia's magical barrier with a deafening impact. Kakeru is shocked to find himself being overpowered in a head-on clash. The sheer force of the impact sends him skidding violently across the broken ground. Realizing his magic is halved by the barrier, he resolves to push through with sheer will. He digs his armored boot into the earth, grinding to a halt before his foe. Veria lunges forward, its massive jaws snapping open to deliver a fatal bite. Kakeru knows it's a deadly attack, and he has no time to dodge. With his sword out of position, he prepares for a desperate last-ditch counter. He pulls back his gauntleted fist, putting all his strength into a single point. The air cracks with the sound of his impossibly fast motion. He slams his fist directly into the dragon's throat, stopping its charge cold. Thinking of the partner he must protect, he channels the war god's divine speed. He understands that, like Ineria, Veria was once just an ordinary dragon. He pictures the pact they must have shared, soaring through the sky together. With a final desperate roar, he unleashes the full power of his thunderbolt. A cataclysmic storm of pure lightning erupts from his position. The entire battlefield is consumed by the blinding, destructive energy. Ranamel and Ineria are thrown back by the sheer force of the shockwave. The world turns white, obliterated by the raw power of the electrical discharge. A spiritual impact resonates as Kakeru's will strikes the core of the dragon's being. Through the crackling energy, his determined eye remains fixed on his goal. His fist connects with something unseen, and the dragon's binding contract shatters. Kakeru lands softly as Veria's massive form crumbles into ash behind him. He watches silently as the last remnants of the tormented dragon fade away. He gazes at the distant Narinri mountains, wondering if its partner was waiting there. The battle finally over, Kakeru removes his helmet, his face weary but resolute. He stands alone on the desolate field as particles of light ascend to the heavens. In a spiritual realm, Veria's soul questions its defeat, having never sought strength. Its form is now peaceful, sitting quietly in an endless, white expanse. The dragon finds the desolate landscape strangely nostalgic and calming. It senses a new presence and turns its head in surprise. God appears, telling the dragon its rampage was not what its master had wished for. He explains that this end was necessary because it was what the dragon itself truly desired. Veria's soul quietly agrees that the deity's words are true. It reflects that its wish would never be granted, no matter how many times it tried. God then tells the dragon that there is someone who has been waiting to see it. Veria wonders who would want to see a proud dragon that fell so far. It feels it has no face to show anyone, having lost what it once was. The dragon remembers all the things it received from its beloved, talkative master. A gentle voice remarks that the dragon's way of speaking has never changed. A vision of Mary appears, smiling radiantly, saying they have always been together. Veria looks upon her as she says she has come for her hero. Mary explains that even if no one else knew its heart, she always did. She embraces the dragon's massive snout, telling it that it tried so hard. Veria understands now, ready to go with her to the other side. It realizes with peaceful clarity that she was waiting here all along. The dragon has one final thing to say in this life. Mary smiles, saying she made it here just so she could meet him. The tale of the reincarnated dragon knight's heroics reaches its climax. The next morning, Kakeru wakes in the inn, and Ineria asleep beside him. He lets out a large, satisfied yawn, the exhaustion of battle finally catching up. He muses that they ended up sharing a bed for her magic supply anyway. He gently pats his partner's head, relieved that she made it back safely. Lying back, he watches over his sleeping companions with a content expression. A voice calls his name across the now quiet battlefield. Ineria roars in triumph, celebrating their great victory over the dark dragon. Kakeru smiles, remarking that he never expected to fight with his bare fists. Ranamel runs towards him, anxiously asking if he is injured. She notes he took a hit, but he calmly says he just needs a little rest. Hearing a distant sound, Kakeru tells his companions to hurry back. A royal banner, emblazoned with a unicorn, flaps in the wind. A contingent of knights approaches, and Ineria wonders if they are being pursued. Kakeru knows they are too exhausted for another fight and should retreat. He calls out to Ranamel, who stands with a new, determined expression. She asks him to let her speak with the approaching soldiers for a moment. Ineria is shocked, asking if she is serious about letting them take her back. Ranamel explains she has been running for too long, relying on their strength. She says that watching them fight a terrible foe without retreating inspired her. Her eyes shining with resolve, she declares that she too must fight now. Kakeru sees her newfound courage and agrees with a simple, understanding smile. Ranamel, her expression firm with resolve, accepts her role in the coming confrontation. A company of royal knights charges across the plains, their banners held high. The commander's armored boot lands with a heavy thud upon the scarred earth. The knights halt before the trio, their leader dismounting to kneel. The commander formally addresses the young woman as Her Highness, Princess Ranamel. He then thanks the Dragon Knight for saving the capital from the evil dragon. Kakeru and the colossal Inaria stand impassively, waiting for him to continue. The commander's gratitude sours as he questions why Kakeru abducted the princess. Ranamel quickly speaks up, insisting that she chose to leave with them. The commander ignores her, once again pleading for her to return to the capital. He explains that her father, the king, now wishes for her to live with him. The knight wonders why the king, who never cared, suddenly wants her back. Ranamel declares she won't be a pawn for the father who abandoned her mother. Kakeru listens from within his helmet, the gravity of the situation clear. She explains the cold political need for her to produce an heir for the kingdom. The knight insists it is her duty, but Kakeru scoffs, calling it nonsense. Inaria growls, disgusted that Ranamel was hunted for such a cruel reason. Kakeru grows tired of the heartless exchange, knowing he must intervene. He watches the tense standoff from behind the visor of his helmet. A powerful voice suddenly cuts through the air, shouting that enough is enough. Kakeru steps forward, declaring they must have understood the cry of her soul. Ranamel's eyes widen in surprise at his sudden, bold intervention. Inaria watches the scene unfold with a calm, discerning eye. Kakeru tells the knight that the king should first beg forgiveness for his disrespect. He draws his sword, refusing to return the dragon maiden to such a man. Inaria slams her massive foot down, scattering the knights in a show of force. The soldier stammers in awe, recognizing the legendary title of Dragon Maiden. Kakeru claims Ranamel has the qualities of the maiden, his true companion. He recalls that the legend of the Dragon Maiden also existed in the game. He realizes he can use this legend, as it seems to exist in this world. Ranamel is flustered, caught in the middle of his grand, improvised bluff. Kakeru stands his ground, declaring that the knight's demands are unreasonable. The commander, sweating, concedes the point and apologizes for his rudeness. Ranamel realizes she was saved because the capital believes her to be a legend. Kakeru tells the knight to listen to her wishes if he respects the maiden. Ranamel is taken aback, a blush rising to her cheeks at his defense. She turns away, declaring she will go with her companions to help others. With a bright, confident smile, she announces she is not returning to the capital. The commander looks on, his expression shifting from duty to quiet reverence. He recalls the ancient legend of the first dragon maiden who became a goddess. He accepts her decision, pledging that the kingdom will honor her divine duty. He offers a formal apology for obstructing their path and asks for forgiveness. With the matter settled, Inaria leaps into the air with a powerful roar. They soar into the sky, leaving the contingent of knights far below. Inaria laughs, impressed by Kakeru's skill as a smooth-talking performer. Kakeru grins, admitting he simply blurted out the legend he remembered. Ranamel is deeply embarrassed to be called the legendary Dragon Maiden. She turns to Kakeru, thanking him for giving her the courage she needed. He promises to always help her because they are companions on this journey. Ranamel beams with pure joy, her heart soaring as she agrees. Inaria grumbles jealously, asking if Ranamel is always going to be on her back. Ranamel clarifies that Inaria is Kakeru's true partner, delighting the dragon. The three heroes fly off into the wide, cloud-filled sky, free once more. They soon return to the familiar stone archway of their inn in Arclus. The next morning, Kakeru brings a tray of food to his waking companions. The trio walks through town, planning to visit Medina's shop for new weapons. They stop to enjoy some delicious hot dogs from a street vendor. Inaria takes a huge, satisfying bite, savoring the simple meal. As they eat, Kakeru reveals that he dreamed of hardened Veria that morning. He wonders why he saw the dragon speaking with someone in a white void. Inaria suggests that Veria was a grim vision of her own possible future. Kakeru listens intently, a flicker of understanding in his eye. She explains Veria showed her what she would become if left alone. Seeing his somber expression, she tells him not to look so sad. She would never follow that path, as she was prepared from the start. Because of that past, she is who she is now, and she was able to win. She winks, declaring that for a dragon, there is no greater joy than victory. Kakeru vows to live up to her resolve and never let his partner have regrets. He reflects that defeating Veria, though difficult, was the right thing to do. Inaria cheers, pointing at him and declaring their Dragon Knight legend has begun. Kakeru quietly asks her what she means by their legend. He quickly brushes it off with a gentle smile, saying it was nothing. Inaria rallies the group, eager for their next adventure and meal. She and Ranamel are excited about getting grilled gull meat with cheese. Kakeru agrees, saying he wants to check the guild for quests anyway. Inaria teases him for being so serious, checking for work on his day off. As they walk, they begin to overhear the whispers of other adventurers. People are gossiping about the Demon Lord's assault on the capital city. An elf notes that dragon slaying is a condition for becoming a top-rank adventurer. Enaria reminds Kakeru of his goal to become a top-rank adventurer. She smiles softly, telling him that his wish has now come true. The story of their deeds spread like wind, growing into a grand tale. Their legend was immortalized in a poem, marking the dawn of a new era.